Good morning, Year 3 and 4, and welcome to your final reading session of the week. I thought we would just read the entire book through today, up to the point we'd got to fit it all together, because we've been reading small sections of the book, so I thought we'd read about half of the whole story and everything we've read so far in one go, just to really familiarise ourselves with the text. On February 22nd, 1888, the town of Westchester, Pennsylvania, celebrated a holiday. That day, in that same town, Daniel and Christine Pippin celebrated the birth of their son, Horace. Horace grew fast, so fast that his mother could barely keep up with the mending. "He'll be a giant some day," the neighbours would say. Grandma Pippin smiled at Horace's long legs and big hands. She figured the neighbours were right. Grandma's hands were big too, rough and scarred from her slave days in Virginia, but they were just fine for giving Horace hugs. "The biggest part of you," she told him, "is inside, where no one can see." When Horace was 3 years old, the Pippins moved to Goshen, New York. As the family grew larger, everyone helped out. Horace put his big hands to work. He fetched flour for his mother. He sorted laundry with his sisters. He played with his baby brother. He held the horse while the driver delivered milk. At night, he piled wood for the stove and arranged dominoes so his grandmother could play. Then, if he could find a scrap of paper and piece of charcoal, he drew pictures of what he'd seen that day. Horace loved to draw. He loved the feel of the charcoal as it slid across the floor. He loved looking at something in the room and making it come alive again in front of him. He loved thinking about a friend or a pet, then drawing them from the picture in his mind. At school, he sat quietly at his desk, but his big hands were always busy. "Make a picture for us, Horace," his classmates said, and Horace did. His pictures made people happy, except when he made some next to his spelling list. That made the teacher mad. But Horace couldn't stop drawing. One day, Horace saw a funny face in a magazine. "Draw me and win a prize," it said underneath. Horace drew the face and sent it off. A few weeks later, a package arrived. Inside, Horace found coloured pencils, a pair of brushes, and a box of paints. "Congratulations," said the note. Horace had won his first real art supplies. "Paint a picture for us, Horace," his sisters cried, and Horace did. He painted everyday scenes in natural colours. Then he added a splash of red. Horace was in 8th grade when his father left for good. The family needed money, so Horace quit school and went to work. For several years, Horace's big hands were always busy. Stacking grain sacks at a feed store, shoveling coal at a rail yard, mending fences on a farm, carrying luggage at a hotel, making brakes in an iron factory. Packing oil paintings into large wooden crates. Looking at these made Horace remember winning the art contest. How proud he'd been. How he'd loved those coloured pencils, those brushes, and his first real box of paints. Horace was a big man now, with big responsibilities. Still, he loved drawings as much as he always had. He used charcoal, broken pencils, whatever he could find. "Make a picture for us, Horace," the other workers said, and Horace did. Far across the ocean, a terrible war had begun. Horace's big heart wanted to help. He joined the army and sailed away. In France, Horace and his regiment dug deep trenches for protection. There were no blankets or beds. It was always wet and cold and dark. "I have not seen the sun in more than a month," Horace wrote. He wrapped his big hands around a rifle. Planes droned overhead. Shells exploded. Gunfire rattled through the night. If the fighting stopped for a while, Horace put down his gun and picked up a pencil. "Make a picture for us, Horace," his soldier friends pleaded, and Horace did. He filled his notebooks one by one. One day he climbed to the top of the trench. A shot rang out. Horace felt pain in his shoulder. He was hit. Many hours passed before help came. Horace was glad to be alive, but the bullet had badly damaged his right arm. When it healed, he couldn't lift or move it the way he used to. Now when someone said, "Make a picture for us, Horace," Horace could not. After the war, Horace came back to the United States and met Jenny Wade. Jenny was a hard worker. She loved to cook. Horace was a hard worker too, and he loved to eat. It was a good match. They married and settled down in Westchester. So that's our story we've read so far, and today we've read it in a big chunk and it's put all those different pieces we've read together. So come back next week and we're going to read the second half of our book.